Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to our educational series. Today we have Donnelly Construction. Chris Donnelly and Bernie Erickson are going to tell us about UV lighting. You want to start, Chris or Bernie?
Sure. Thanks for letting us host this event with you guys, this webinar. It's definitely something that a lot of people are interested in these days, and we're seeing a lot of interest from all different clients in all different sectors. But restaurants and hospitality is definitely important for this. Most of you know us, Donnelly Construction. We're a commercial general contractor based out of Wayne, New Jersey. We've been in and around the business for 40 years. Company my father started back in 1977. Also, we have a energy division, Donnelly Energy, in which we've been working alongside the New Jersey Clean Energy Program with energy efficiency upgrades throughout the state. And we've worked alongside with Bernie Erickson, who's our panelist here as well. He works for FSG, and FSG is Facility Solutions Group. It's one of the largest lighting suppliers in the country. And he's been in and around, been involved with UV lighting for a very long time. So with that, Bernie's going to go over a quick 20-minute presentation about all the different UV lighting from UVA to UVC, far UVC, what you can be, what are the lights you can be under, what's safe for humans, what's not safe, and talk about how to get them installed in your facilities. And with that, Bernie, you want to take it from here?
Very good. Thank you, Chris and Shah. Let me just do a screen share here. Make sure I got the right one here. It gives me to pick. That's interesting. It's asking for additional permissions. Okay.
1 second, Bernie.
Yeah, here it goes. You have to, you must quit before it allow you to share your screen. I may have to relog on.
You should be able to now, Bernie.
Okay, let's see. Ah, there it goes. You are right. I'm glad I didn't hit quit. It appears I would have disappeared. All right, so thank you, everybody. We're going to talk today about using UVC and UV for germicidal lighting to kill germs in restaurants and other types of facilities here. I'm neither a scientist nor a doctor, but what I've done here is gotten the information from the technical sources and hope to boil it down into an understandable fashion so you can see how you could utilize this. We're going to look at spot applications, working in a specific area, a dining room, a bathroom, the whole facility, and using portable and temporary units. And big question everybody always wants to know, does it kill viruses? Does it kill bacteria? And UVC, the IES has come out and said it does effectively inactivate the SARS-CoV-2 virus, which is responsible for COVID-19. So the scientific community is pretty much behind this. David Brenner, the director of Columbia University Center for Radiological Research, said, although they haven't 100% determined through clinical trials, because this is a new virus, it would be inconceivable to me that it wouldn't kill this virus. And the UVC has been a proven virus killer for years. So the overall view of the CDC and the scientific community is this is a great way to go about killing the virus. So how is the virus passed on? Two ways: through the air and through surfaces, touching surfaces and then touching your face or your mouth. The UV itself, been around for a long time. UVC has been used since the 1930s. And there's three spectrums, which we'll talk about in a second, but it basically operates by damaging the virus's cells. It's a non-chemical process, and it doesn't leave any residuals. And as Chris mentioned, there's a couple of different parts of the spectrum. UVC is what we're really focused on. This is the real killer. It inactivates both viruses and bacteria, and 99.99% effectiveness. The exposure time is short, it's proven, and we know what the side effects are. They're superficial. We have a few other technologies, and we're going to include those, talk about those here. We have far UV. That's a newer technology, not been around since the 30s, only for the last few years, mostly laboratory testing. It does kill viruses and bacteria, not quite as much and not nearly as fast as UVC. Then we have UVA and B, which is kind of the same that we find in the sun. Safe as the sun is what GE calls this technology. And this can be used while you're in a room. It doesn't have any side effects, but the negative is it's mainly just a bacteria killer. It's not killing viruses. And then near UV is clinically irrelevant. I like this quote from Arne Sorensen of Marriott saying, "We're living in a new age with COVID-19 front and center for our guests and our associates." And offering the most corona-resistant environment is really the way to make our guests comfortable and the way to make customers feel comfortable coming back. So the question is, how do we accomplish that? We could spray chemicals, and these are a couple of examples. We could mop chemicals down, or more likely hydrostatically spray chemicals, but that's really time-consuming and expensive. These chemicals, where we're used to paying 50 cents a gallon for commercial cleaning chemicals, are $6 to $8 a gallon, so very expensive, time-consuming, and then some people don't like chemicals being sprayed on things. Or use UV and basically irradiate away the germs. Prior to COVID-19, we weren't really seeing this used much outside the medical field. It's very, very, very frequently used in hospitals and medical facilities. And people always say, well, can you give me a list of hotels using it? Well, we will be able to now as we're starting to deploy, but not a lot of them haven't. But here's one. Weston at Houston Medical Center was using this because their guests were visiting immune-compromised patients in the related hospital, and they wanted to reduce the chances of infection. And here was a school that was having high absenteeism from the flu. So there are examples of utilizing this outside, but not as many as there will be now as everybody's starting to deploy. So are we really looking at a new normal where, we're going to be looking to show customers and employees that we've been sterilizing? So how can we deploy? Well, we could clean the air, we could permanently mount fixtures, or we can have portable units that we move from room to room. And we look at cleaning the air. This is something that can be used when people are in the space because the UV lamps are hidden away, if you will. And so people can be in the space. So the thought is, on the permanently mounted one, somebody coughs and it goes into the air, it goes through the HVAC system, and it's killed right at that coil. We have a ASHRAE coming out saying that they've seen a 90% plus kill ratio on viruses and bacteria on ducts and evaporator coils utilizing this technology. Or we can mount units that are either mounted in a ceiling. Here's one that fits into a 2x4 ceiling grid, and the unit will do about 50 CFM, maybe a 10x10 room, change it once or twice an hour and circulate it. You could have a light panel, or you could just have a ceiling tile. Or here's a unit. It's a portable disinfection unit that will do a large space, a banquet room. It'll filter in 80 minutes. It'll do 8,000 square feet. 3,000 square feet, it'll change the air twice an hour. And you don't need to go into your HVAC system to modify it. Another way we can do this is with upper air pendants or wall-mounted upper air fixtures. And this has been used a lot in third world countries, TB clinics, things like that, where the lights shine up and the air naturally travels across this. And I just modeled this out on a couple of projects. Take a room that was 2,000 square feet maybe, or an area like that. We could do that with two fixtures, either mounted on the wall or suspended from the ceiling, and the air will naturally travel over it and it will kill any viruses in the air. But all three of those technologies, all three of those ways of rolling it out are treating just the air. They're not treating the surfaces. And if we want to treat the surfaces, we're essentially using something where you can't be in the space when it runs. And it irradiates typically downward or from a cart. And these are an example of one technology in the UVC field. It's called pulsed xenon. And it's the more expensive of the two technologies I'm going to show you. But pulsed xenon is a bright flash of light, and it's a broad spectrum, so it has UVC A and B in it. The UVC is really what's killing everything, but it has the benefit of A and B, and it's killing bacteria, viruses, and mold. This unit, each one of these lights does about 100 square feet, a 10 by 10 area. You can mount these permanently in the ceiling, and then they can be controlled by software, or you could set them, and they have a reverse occupancy sensor. If someone walks into the space, they will shut off. Very good choice for bathrooms and restrooms, but they are a little more on the expensive end. And then these are the fluorescent fixtures, a little more reasonable, if you will, and again, can be mounted in an area. But the thing about the fluorescent is that we can't put a lens on these fixtures. The bulb has to be exposed because UVC on the fluorescent spectrum doesn't go through a lens, plastic or glass. But if we mount these in a space for permanent mounting, we then have to either put them on a switch so we don't run them when someone's in the area, and we can put reverse occupancy sensors, so if someone walks into the space, it shuts the fixtures off. I had mentioned briefly in the beginning about UVA, safe as the sun, and again, this doesn't kill viruses. It's a bacteria killer, so it promotes a healthier environment, but it doesn't kill COVID. But they do provide visible light, and they are used in medical facilities just for a cleaner environment. They come in two strengths, an 8-hour and a 24-hour cycle, based on how long somebody would potentially be in the space. So now we're going to talk about these mobile units, and this is where we've seen the highest degree of interest, because you can leverage your spend by moving these units from room to room in the evenings when you're doing your cleaning cycle. This is the more expensive of the two carts. This is the pulse xenon. And then this is the fluorescent. And these are the real workhorses. You know, those pulse xenons will do a couple of 100 square feet. This unit, this is a 1,000-watt unit. It actually does up to 20,000 square feet in an hour. Chris, you haven't seen this, but this is the new style of the unit now, with the 3 lamps inside. So this unit is operated in a couple of different ways. It has a switch on it with a timer, and you could hit the switch. It has a 1-minute time delay. You walk out of the room and it turns on, runs for the set time. Or you can operate it from an app or the web. It has a occupancy sensor on there, so if somebody walks back in, it shuts it off. And it has a 3-year warranty, 30,000-hour life on the unit. And then this is a smaller version, essentially, of the same thing. And this is a 300 watter. You can see it does 1,600 square feet in an hour. So it does, essentially, it becomes a decision of how much do you want to spend on equipment versus how much time do you want to spend to clean. Both will do the larger spaces. You just have to move the unit around. You could do 20,000 square feet with this unit. You just have to move it several times. And we're going to see that in an example in a minute. This also has a 3-year warranty, and it also has a little handheld remote, so that if there's a janitorial person, they could use this little remote to operate it once they leave the room. Now, both of those units have a Wi-Fi bridge in them, and they can connect to Wi-Fi, and you could even add GPS to them as an option. And if you do that, it'll actually log room to room where you're going on a Google map, and tell you how long it was in each space. You can click on the space and it'll light up the room that it was in. So you don't need to use this. This is just an option, and the Wi-Fi is built in, but again, you don't have to set it up. These are handheld units. You may have seen those wands. Actually, there's a picture of one in the beginning of this, little wands that they sell on Amazon, and wondered if they work. And truth be told, they really don't. They don't do much. But these are wands that actually work. But you have to cover up if you're using these. You need to put on gloves and goggles, a long sleeve shirt, and hat and pants. And then you could go around and sterilize by moving the wand a few seconds over the surfaces. This is a single lamp wand, and then this is a double lamp wand, a little heavier. So if we start to look at areas of how this cleans, this is a restaurant seating area, and this has a 1,000-watt unit sitting right here. And so if you think of this UV light as visible light, you know, if you're right under a light fixture, it's brighter. And as you move farther away from it, or even if you were to look underneath a table, the light may be up in the ceiling and it may be not hitting underneath the table, but it might be bouncing off the wall and hitting underneath. And the same is true with ultraviolet radiation. So the brighter, if you want to think of it, it is, the faster it disinfects. So right over here, this is all cleaned in 1 minute. In 1 minute, all of this area is all disinfected in a minute. But then as we start to get obstructions on the other side of the chairs, here we're seeing it's taking 2-3 minutes. And all the way in the corner underneath this chair, it's taking as long as 16 minutes. So, you know, you could use this unit and use it for a couple of minutes, for example, just to disinfect the tops of the tables and the bright areas. But at night, if you want to run it and really clean 100% of that room, even underneath that table, it's going to take 16 minutes to run it. And we can help you understand for a given space how long it would take. Here's the same thing. All of this is done in a minute, you know, 4 minutes for almost all the rest of the room, but 16 minutes under the back of this darkest spot of the table. Here's a hotel room. And a good example, again, a 1,000-watt unit is going to take 20-30 minutes. I mean, the 300-watt unit is going to take 20 or 30 minutes, but the 1,000-watt unit takes 5 to 10 minutes. So you could buy a bigger unit and run it for a shorter period of time. You could buy just one small unit and move it around. This is a school classroom, doesn't really map, but here's a church sanctuary. You think of this as a big performance space, and you can move this unit, this 1,000-watt unit, you'd need to move it 10 times, and you know, it would be 20 minutes in each location, but then it would do that entire space. Or you can buy a couple of units and it would go quicker. And it then becomes a question of time and money, right? This is a 26,000 square foot office. Somebody had said, I want to put those pulse xenon fixtures in the whole space. Well, it was over $300,000 just in the material to do that. If we cleaned it with carts, we could spend around $30,000 and it would take 4 hours with the carts. We could do it in 2 hours for just under $50,000. So it becomes kind of a question of the time you want to spend versus the money that you want to spend. And so here, take this dining room. Well, I could put 4 300-watt units in this dining room and clean it, you know, in 10, 15 minutes. It's 1,500 square feet. Or I could put one 1,000-watt unit and do it the same amount of time. Or I could buy one of these 300-watt units and I could run it, you know, essentially for 5 minutes, then come back into the room, move it here 5 minutes, move it here 5 minutes, move it here 5 minutes, you know, and you're essentially going to accomplish the same thing with that one unit. So you could figure out how much time do you want to spend. And this is just more examples of that same thing. Here, one 1,000-watt unit, and here, 4 of the 300-watt units, or one unit being moved 4 separate times. So, and these are all just examples of that. But if you were to give us, and you have a particular space, you know, you want to know exactly for your space, you can look at these as good representations, or you give us the length, the width, and the height of your space, and ideally a photo of it so we could see what kind of tables and objects you have in there, and we could calculate your runtime. Here, two units in this lobby, 600 square feet, and it's doing it all in 10 or 15 minutes. So just more examples of the same: a kitchen area, another restaurant area, locker area. And then some other products. This is a bulb that screws right in. It works kind of like those air handling units, and it draws air across. The side effects I talked about, what are the side effects? Well, typically if you're using it with the occupancy sensor, it shuts off, you know, you're not exposed. But if you were to take that handheld unit and not cover up, you have 2 things that are going to happen. You're going to get reddening of the skin, erythema, like sunburn, and you're going to get photokeratitis, or sometimes known as welder's flash or snow blindness. It's that gritty, sandy feeling in your eyes, like you've been out in the sun all day without sunglasses on. Well, it can go away in a day or 2. It's superficial, and UVB is the thing that causes skin cancer, so it's not a skin cancer causer, but it's irritations that we don't need to deal with if we just use this the right way, use the units with the sensors, or make sure that if we have it in a space without sensors for some reason, or we're using a handheld, that we cover up. We do have a white glove service in New Jersey and New York areas where we'll deliver these to you. We'll assemble the unit, put it together, review its operation on the carts, and give you some help on how to use it. We'll bring you goggles and gloves. And if you wanted to measure, you wanted to really know, we know these things are working, we know how long you need to run them, but you could also buy these little test strips, if you will, cards that will measure the doses if you wanted to measure it yourself. And then we think messaging this to customers and employees is going to be important. If you need help with that, we do have the ability in our signage division for messaging. And then here's some other products or applications. This is a portal. I talked about that far UVC as being a new technology. You could be exposed to it and it kills viruses as well as bacteria. This portal you walk through and you rotate your body and it kills bacteria and viruses on your body. This is a unit for bathrooms that mounts, you replace your mirror and there's a unit underneath the bottom of the mirror, disinfects the vanity and the drain, or you can also do the whole bathroom. And then this is an actual drain unit that does the J-trap of the drain. A lot of viruses and germs hide in the drains. Elevators, we've got two choices for elevators. This is a pulse xenon unit, and it's a nice clean looking little box. It can be surface mounted or it has a flange kit. It can be flush mounted. The elevator is vacant and it runs until it cleans it. And then this is a fluorescent unit. Remember I said you can't put a lens on it. So we put a wire guard over these just to protect the lamps. And there's a flat ceiling mounted unit or a corner mounted unit. And if you put one of the two lamp 2-footers in, it's going to take around 20 minutes to fully clean that elevator. You could put 2 units in and do it in 10 minutes, for example, or put a 4-foot unit in, do it in 10 minutes. So you have choices. Again, based on what you're talking about and what your preference would be. Here's a men's room example, 3 toilets, 2 urinals, and 3 sinks. If I were to do this with the pulse xenon, I could do it with 2 fixtures, and that's really the way I would. I'll show you the next slide with fluorescent, but this is a good application where it pays to use the pulse xenon, because even though it's more expensive, you need far fewer fixtures. It only draws 100 watts, and it would have the timer on. Somebody comes into the bathroom, it would shut off, and then it would wait for 10 minutes after it sees someone, and then it would run a cleaning cycle up to 30 minutes. 30 minutes would be the max. That's what it would need to disinfect the whole bathroom. But then if someone would come in, it would shut off. When they would leave, it would again try to run 30 minutes. And then once it ran 30 minutes, it would shut off. It would have disinfected the space. If I did that with fluorescent, it's over 1,200 watts worth of fixtures that are needed in there, and it just doesn't really make sense. This is an escalator product. It is non-powered, so you use a jig to mount it on the escalator, and the movement of the handle generates the power, and it sterilizes the handrail to keep it clean. This is a facial recognition temperature scanner, and this could be used for employees or whatever. Size of this, it's larger than an iPad tablet. It looks like it's an iPhone size, but it's not, it's larger. And essentially, it will check your employees in if you so desire, and it'll also communicate to your system if you have, or do an attendance keeping, if you will, up to the cloud. You can upload up to 50,000 faces into there, and you could upload them either, if you have the employee photos, you could just do it with an Excel file and upload it to the cloud, or you could have initially all your employees come in and have their picture taken, and they on the keypad type in their name, and then when they come in, even if they have a mask on, it'll be able to recognize them, take their temperature, and it either A, could not let them in if you have a door locking system or something like that, or you could have it send you an email to let you know that this employee just arrived for work and has a high fever or whatever. So pretty simple to use, and you could put up to 50,000 people into it. It can mount on the wall. This is a table stand, or the most popular one is just a floor stand. Has a nice blue light on it, so everybody knows they just have to walk up to it. You just walk right up to it, and boom, you're done. It logs you in. This is a package disinfection unit, so it's a cabinet. You could do mail, you could do packages that come in or whatever. You put that into the unit and just turn it on, and it disinfects packages. And then these are screens, protective shields. We have standard ones, standard 3x4 foot, or any custom size. We even have a standalone shield. You could use this to use a non-contact thermometer and take somebody's temperature as they were coming into work as well. And with that, that is pretty much the whole slide deck, and we can open it up for questions if you'd like. Justin's name is on here if you need pricing on any products or cut sheets on any products. Easiest thing is to just shoot a quick email to Justin, and he'd be happy to answer. So,
Thank you, Bernie.
Thanks, Bernie.
I will.
Hey, Bernie. Oh, sorry, Shaw.
Okay, I was gonna unmute everyone, or if they want to go into the chat and ask a question.
yep,
They
or
can.
however you want.
Hey, Bernie, quick question. I know we're seeing, a lot of interest with the mobile carts, the 300 and 1,000-watt units. Are they still about a few weeks to get?
Yes, we had some delays, where it actually took around 4 weeks, 4.5 weeks for the initial shipments. And now we're thinking 2 to 3 weeks is about the turnaround time that we're seeing on the carts. Some of the other products could be longer, 6 to 8 weeks, depending upon the products themselves. They are in high demand, so they're going in and out quickly.
So, hi, this is Bavish. Just a quick question. I was going to just ask you what's the lead time on some of these, but can you send us, or can you send it to Shaw, some of the products that you just went over so we can really go into them a little bit more in depth and see the area that they cover and all that? I think within 15, 20 minutes, it went through really fast. So
Yeah, I know. Absolutely. Yeah, Chris can handle that and send you out all the cut sheets.
We'll get an attendee list and then email everyone to follow up with the recording of the webinar, and then we'll put on the we'll put in all the attachments for all the different cut sheets of everything.
great. Really appreciate it.
No problem.
Any other questions? Looks like there's no more questions at this time, Bernie
Perfect.
and Chris.
Well, thank you, everybody, for your attention. At the end of the day, before I just turn it over for Chris for a close, I'll just say that what we're seeing the highest degree of interest in are the portable carts. They really leverage the spend, and people are ordering, some of those to get themselves started, and they could show people that they're doing something. And then we're seeing a second wave where people are saying, come in, look at my elevators, look at my bathrooms, see how we can deploy that. If you have specific space and, you didn't see things in here that kind of match the space that you had, and you're wondering how long you would need to clean that, feel free to give us some measurements, as I said, and we'll be happy to calculate it out for you. So with that, I'll give it for you for the close, Chris.
Bernie, thanks again. Great job with the presentation. Shaw, I want to thank you again for letting us host the webinar.
And thank you.
Yeah, if anyone, like I said, we'll send a follow-up email. If anyone has any questions, feel free to reach out to anyone on our team, myself included. And with that, thanks and have a great rest of your day.
You too.
Thanks, guys.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.